Hello there, wonderful humans, and welcome back to Board Game Dads. My name is Anthony. I am your host on this new show we're calling Designer Debut, where we focus on some rookie designers in the board game industry. We happen to have such a special guest tonight in Ben Craven. Ben, thank you for joining us here on Board Game Dads.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really
We're
excited to be here finally after
Yes, I
all
was
those
going to say I'm excited too because Ben was for a time there. Ben was going to be the first episode of Designer Debut, and then just a couple things back and forth scheduling wise between the both of us. But he's here now, and
yes.
that's what's important. So that's what we are going to focus on. So Ben has a few things really in development. There's one game in particular that we'll focus on the most tonight, which is Hydro Soakers. And also, we'll talk a little bit about his company, Upsize Fun. So, I'd like to start there, I think, in terms of, what made you take the leap into, hey, I want to, try to make this a thing besides just
Yeah.
an idea?
That's a great question. I I don't know. I think like a lot of people they've had ideas and had projects that they wanted to start pre-COVID era.
Right.
And then once that kind of hit, people really got time to like think about how they could do stuff. And that's kind of really what kind of spawned me to jump into this a little bit. But I've always been like designing games and all that forever. And
Right.
now that I have like, I have a family and a steady job, and I have the means to kind of maybe produce a game and see if I can get it out there. So I think like that time to think and um, contemplate and think of the results and consequences of decisions and stuff. I just went for it, and that was kind of the spawning point.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because I think that was, as you kind of already said, the spawning point for a lot of folks in a lot of different areas, right? We suddenly had a lot more time
Yeah,
on our hands. Some of us, alone, which is going to increase that whole, introspection, thinking about stuff for
yep,
sure. In fact, it was kind of the impetus of my starting the channel as well. So we have two creative paths here finally
yeah,
converging.
yep.
So you mentioned that you've been designing stuff for quite a while. What about in terms of you being into the board game hobby? How long have you been an enthusiast of the modern board game era?
Yeah, I've always had like the Hasbro games and stuff growing up, and the Milton Bradley and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I'd say like 2015, I think was when I was really getting into it with like King of Tokyo was like
Okay,
the first game that really got me into it because
that
it's
was
just
your
so
gateway game. Okay,
that was it. It was
yeah.
just so easy and like fun, and like there's so much theme thrown into a dice game. It's like it's got six dice. All that extra theme really like got me thinking, and then from there, I guess it was I went to something like heavier. I think it was called Adventurers. It was like
Okay,
a temple, like a mummy temple game kind of thing, but
yes.
that like was the next level, and I just kept going and going, and so I think like 2015, I was like into it.
Yeah, yeah, everybody fell down the wormhole at some point.
Yeah,
But what a great journey it's been
I
because
know.
now we're at a point where there's just a ridiculous amount of games that are coming out every year. Too
Yeah,
many to keep up with, too many to play. We all have a shelf of shame or shelf of opportunity, depending on what you want to call it.
yeah,
But that kind of makes it challenging as well for someone like yourself who's trying to break into, you know, getting the game actually created for it to be sold.
yes,
So, well, the elephant in the room here is that you have had a Kickstarter for your game Hydro Soakers and it did not fund, right? It did not succeed.
yes,
So
that's correct.
obviously that was not an easy thing for you to go through, but in the conversations that you and I have had, you are the type of person that is always learning from experiences, right? And we know that sometimes failure is the best teacher, right? Because then we have this thing that we know not to do and what things happen. So, I'm dying to know what some things are that you learned from that Kickstarter experience. And then, are you going that route again? And what are you doing differently?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was started in the like board game kind of area and like kind of community in like 2015, and then that Kickstarter started coming by in like 2017. I think it was like 2017, 2018. It was like really hot,
Yeah.
as it is now. But I was like, wow, this is like people are just clamoring for this stuff, and like these game, the people are buying games on Kickstarter. Um, and I've seen a couple projects where it was like someone on my level. It was just just throwing it out there, trying to
Hmm.
get funds to manufacture the game. And I was like, hey, this there might be something here. So I was going in blind. So I did so much research and so much marketing, and like I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface
Yeah.
on like the marketing side, but it was just so much time and energy and extra. So for my games, I do all the art and all that as well. So
Right.
that was all just art that was just strictly made for the Kickstarter that
Sure.
wouldn't see the light of day after the Kickstarter was over. So it was a lot of time and energy. Um, and like I said, that marketing side is really tough.
Yeah.
Getting the word out there, and to your point, with all the games out there now, it's just crowded and
Very
hard to
crowded.
stand out.
And
So
even Kickstarter itself is getting crowded too. I mean, it's
yeah,
by no means is it only a board game thing. There's all kinds of products out there, but even the board game space specifically on Kickstarter and any other, there's a couple other platforms out there, but to your point, a lot of people are taking that as the next step. And
yeah.
on that note, I want to bring up the
Oh,
Tabletop Express here has a great comment here from Chris. He says, "Congrats on pushing back through after the initial try. I don't think that's something everyone does. That's definitely not. And I tell you, on top of that, just taking the first step is something that a lot of people don't do either. With so many things, whether they're creative or not, right? Especially
that
among
is
so
a
many big games hitting on a daily basis. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
This is
That
really
is
tough.
a yeah. Thank you so much for that, Tabletop Express. That means so much to me. Yeah. Taking that first step, it's scary, and it's like I don't even know if this is again worth my time and effort.
Right,
And is it, are people going to like this game? I mean, we've done play tests and all that stuff, but for the mass appeal,
right.
are people going to buy into it and
So I
getting that
noticed
work?
you made some changes to both the campaign itself, but to gameplay a bit as well, right? In this second kind of coming of the Hydra Soakers.
Yes, I have. It was all kind of more geared towards making it manufacturer friendly.
Sure.
Um, the original one, I had a lot of custom punch outs.
Hmm.
For example, like I had these pizza and they were like, die cut around the pizza.
Right.
Now all the snacks are a they're all the same punch essentially,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
but different snacks on them. But it cut costs dramatically when it comes to manufacturing. And then I shrunk the game down just a little bit physically.
Right.
Um, I have like the new standees. They were probably like maybe like that size
Oh,
originally.
okay. Yeah, that's big.
So yeah, these are you know. So I shrunk the game that way. But as far as gameplay, I did also the original one. I had probably over 60 of these like cubes to
Hmm.
track water, and now I changed it to just a track.
Got it. Oh yeah, well that
Um,
certainly cuts down on the plastic. Yeah.
yeah, so I went from 60 of the plastic cubes to 12.
Nice. Nice.
So I made cuts there. So, but as far as gameplay, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that because I really didn't. I mentioned the name and didn't really say anything about the game, but
Oh
Hydro
yeah,
Stokers is basically a two-player skirmish game, right?
yeah.
And
Um,
so, was there a game specifically that you wanted to model after in this two-player format that you have there?
um, that's a good question. I liked the simplicity of like how I mentioned King of Tokyo.
Hmm.
Um, I like the simplicity of that. So there are 6 dice in the game. Um, but I like that rolling dice mechanic. Um, so and then I always wanted a competitive kind of like you start with a team of three characters, and I like that competitive eliminate a character until you're down to one.
Yeah,
So I wanted to kind of get that in game.
like a six-man tag match.
Exactly,
Yeah,
like elimination. But I always like those kind of extreme sports, I guess you can call them. So I thought of it like with this. I thought of like if this were like like a league or
sure.
something like that. So that was kind of the start of it.
Yeah, I
But
mean, and the theme is great because that's that mechanic with chuck and dice and trying to eliminate people can take a lot of forms, right? But you've got it in this family-friendly lens of these water guns, these, basically super soakers. Again, and I,
mhm.
I said in the description of this video, you're going to be drenched in the '90s nostalgia here, and that is on purpose, and that, as you mentioned, has a lot of bearing in the artwork itself. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that you were a fan of '90s cartoons,
Yes,
specifically
yes,
Nickelodeon.
yeah. How'd you guess?
So
Yes,
we
I
take
sure would.
a yeah, we take a look at the board here, and this is a great graphic design here with the beach around the edges. So this is the smaller board, correct?
Yeah. So the original board, there's maybe like a half an inch border around like that
Hmm.
square grid was closer to the outside. So this is shrunken down and I could fit, like that blue deck of cards. It fits on the board. Everything fits on the boards minus the, player cards.
Right.
So I really like how that turned out.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess that you are a doodler, and you always have been.
Yeah, yeah, and you know me.
Yeah, no, this definitely has a great nostalgic look to it. Like I said, I mean, I could see this being advertised, on Nickelodeon in between shows. So there's that.
Yeah, even like on the Kickstarter, I tried to do some like commercials, but again,
Yeah.
that's all like work that I did, and it's just gone. Oh, wait, it's not gone. The Kickstarter page is still up there, but
Right.
it's kind of technically gone.
It is, but what's not gone is the fact that you learned how to do that now, right? So you're even through this experience, whether the game saw the light of day the way you wanted it to or not, you've got these notches on your belt that were not there before, and I think that's an important thing for people to
Yeah,
remember, especially if they're
yeah,
thinking about taking that leap.
that's a good point. That's a good point. And this, like what we're looking at now, that's the older version board.
Right, right.
That was a Kickstarter picture, and so we've made some changes. So all of my changes are in an effort to, I don't want to jump ahead or anything, but I don't think I'll be using Kickstarter again. Maybe down
Okay.
the road I will, but I so this copy that I have here was manufactured through the Game Crafter,
Right.
and the quality is just like it's on par, if not better, than some of the games I've played personally that are on the market right now.
Right.
So what I've done is shrunk the game down a little bit to make it manufacturer friendly. And when I release the game, which is I'm basically getting the rules, uh, proofread and just
Hmm.
make sure they're on point. Once that's done, I want to release it on GameCrafter, and you can just purchase it there, and they're going to manufacture it for you right on the spot. Now it takes a little longer to get to you, but
Sure.
you can buy it. I mean, it's the game that I have been taking pictures of. It's
Right.
got these cool minis and not minis. I'm sorry, standees. I call them minis because they feel like minis
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're playing with them. But like the card quality's got that linen finish on it. I mean,
Yep.
it all just feels good. We got custom dice. Um, I'm telling you, it's like so. I think this is a good next step to get
Yeah.
the
It sounds
word
like
out at
it.
the very least.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, and then maybe build up some momentum for something down the line. And speaking of that, I know you have several designs that are floating around either in your head or in somewhat of a prototype form, right? You want to talk a little bit about what else you got churning up there?
Yeah, I do. So I actually have another copy here. I have a little drawer with my prototypes in them. There's one here that's like a bicycles, and you kind of you're going downhill on a mountain,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and it's
Little
basically
sight bike.
exactly. So there's like you're going to be drawing from a deck of cards to create like your mountain, but then there's going to be like obstacles and stuff you need to go across. Um, and you'll go across them. You're building up what I call flow,
Hmm.
and if you go through certain cards, you can gain more flow. Usually, they're ones that are open paths, and you can just go down. Um, and then you spend that flow on the obstacles, and you can add more to that to get more points. And then once you get to the end of the run, you know, whoever's got the most points wins. And then there's like these little nuts. They're like damage. If you ever run out of flow and have to go over an obstacle, that's when you'll gain damage.
That's cool.
So I have that one um, in the works. That was a small little guy. Um, ever since the Kickstarter, I've been looking at like smaller designs because I
Yeah,
just feel like maybe I was a little too ambitious on this first one.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
like you said, less stuff. Just
yeah,
less things to manage and less ways for things to kind of like get in the way, I guess. Which I think is
yeah,
why a lot of like smaller games come out and they do really well because there's a spot for that kind of stuff for sure.
yeah, I agree. And you can get them made pretty cheaply, well, inexpensively. Um, but I've just been looking at more and more smaller designs, and just I really like the I guess putting the limits on
Hmm.
your design. It really makes you think of ways to um, capitalize on like one card could have multiple functions or whatever. But I like that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and then I also have another one um, that is a kind of like a monster again with the King of Tokyo kind of
Hmm.
thing. Um, again with dice rolling. I really like dice for some reason,
Well,
but
because they're awesome.
yeah, they are. But this one, you're basically rolling these dice to give you either recruiting a soldier, recruiting a scientist, gaining technology, attacking the monster, or there's one side that is like it's a brain that you can, if you roll multiple of those, you can put them in your lab with scientists, and you can either re-roll them, you get rid of a scientist to make it a face that you need. But anyways, while this is happening, there's a monster that's in the city destroying buildings and all that stuff. But there's tokens that do that. But um, that whole game is about building your defense against the monster, not as a tower defense, but more of a build up a squad, drop them in the city, and then attack the monster before he destroys the entire city.
Cool.
Um, so that's the other one I have. Um, and then there's another one that is there's an old um, historic um, Aztec kind of ball game
Hmm.
that they used to play. You might have seen it with the like it's like almost like an alleyway with like two rings on the sides up on the walls. But I tried to translate that into a game as best I could, and I think it's really really cool.
Hmm.
It's really fun. Um, there's let's see, three on each side, so there's like six tokens to the game and a board. Um, so that one's come a long way as well. So those are the main ones that I'm kind of juggling at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's a lot.
yeah, yeah,
For sure. And I mean, speaking of juggling, like you said, you have a regular day job and you have a family. You have one small daughter, right?
yeah. Year and a half.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about in the same boat. So
Yep.
ours is becoming quite the monster. To
Yes.
to go
Yeah.
back on
So
your game a little bit. I need all the
yeah.
dice I can get with this girl, man. She is climbing all over everything.
Yes. Yeah. So I know my like design time is any time after like 7:38.
Yes.
That's if I don't have anything else to do, take care
Yep.
of,
There you go.
wash the
Hashtag dad
bottles or
life.
something.
Oh yeah, those always bottles to be washed or clothes to be
Yeah,
put away, for sure. I want to take a look at just a couple more images here from Hydra Soakers because again, this the artwork here is spot on, and really like the acrylic standees. Now, I think the picture on the right here is the older ones, the
that is
larger
correct.
ones, right? And on the left
Yeah.
is the smaller version.
Yes. Yeah. So do have some characters that aren't shown on the left, but those characters I had to whittle it down to 6 characters.
Okay.
So I do plan on releasing the other characters in other packs, but they'll be acrylic with the bases and all that. So um, yeah,
So a little bit more about the gameplay. You start with a loaded up pack of water, and then you're going to be using basically a limited amount of ammo. Is that correct?
that's right. So that's where the fun comes in, or well, it depends on who you ask. I've seen where people are like they're geared up and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to attack this person like with a, I'm going to destroy this person," and they look down and they're like, "Oh wait, I'm out of water." So their whole plan like changes instantly. So yeah, in that picture on the left, there is like a next to that yellow token, there's like a blue and white token.
Hmm.
Those are your fill, excuse me, fill stations. So if you run through those or land on those, you can fill up your I call them hydro packs,
Okay.
but you fill up your gun with water. Um, so there is kind of a resource management aspect to the game as well,
Sure.
where do you want to stay back a little bit further and take a little shots, more little shots, or do you want to run up right next to the character and just blast them with all the water you got? um, so that's a decision you have to make, because when you roll the dice, you're more likely to miss, um, and you're going to remove water from your hydro pack for misses and hits. So even if you miss completely on a character, all that water is gonna be drained from your hydro pack.
Oh, okay.
So that's the decision you have to make. If you want to get up close and roll a bunch of dice, or kind of stay back a little bit and fire a little bit.
And that's, I mean, it's very reminiscent of an actual water gun fight, right? I mean, you got to kind of weigh your options. If you go all in and you kind of miss, you're probably going to get wet within the next couple of seconds.
Exactly, exactly.
Chris is going to bounce here, but he did want to say thank you, Ben, for
Yeah, thank
sharing your
you.
story here.
Yeah, thank you so much for those kind words.
Yes, Chris is very good at motivation. So keep that in mind. So, are there expansions in your head for this one, or do you think it would really depend on how it's received, I guess, before you pull the trigger on that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, already have an expansion. Um, it's and it's kind of timely right now, but it's our graveyard bash.
Aha.
So there are gonna have these made up too, and they're acrylic. Um, they are tombs. There you go. That's
There you
it.
go.
So this is the expansion that I have, um, and actually I have ready to release with the base game as well.
Oh, okay.
Um, because this I was going to offer in the Kickstarter along with the base game is all going to come in one package. But things happen. So, anyways, these headstones, they at the end of your turn, they're going to release a ghost, and there's going to be a haunt deck, which is like that in the top left corner. There's a purple deck of cards.
Hmm.
You're going to draw one of those, and on that, I can actually show you here. Um, on that card, it's going to have the picture of the headstone
Okay.
and then a direction in which the haunt will occur. And in this case,
Got
it's
it.
going to be horizontal. So you'll draw an imaginary line the entire length of that line both ways, and um, if any character is in that line of the haunt, they'll receive a haunt token that they'll sit right underneath their character, and that essentially freezes that character, and you can't perform any actions with that character until a teammate of yours kind of comes up and gives you the hey, everything's okay. If they land end a move action adjacent to that character, it'll remove that haunt.
Cool. It's like freeze tag.
Exactly. And it's
Oh,
fun
man,
because
that's cool.
there's a I don't know if I should spoil it. Maybe I will. But I I go off in tangents. Sorry. In the base game,
My whole life is a tangent, man.
yeah,
It's all
in the
good.
base game, there are these things that are called Hydra Pack attachments, and these are basically um, character abilities that
Okay.
last the entire game for that character. Um, there's ones that like double your hits. There's ones that let you roll more dice from further away. Um, all kinds of fun stuff. But um, in the graveyard bash, there's one called the Haunter,
Hmm.
and whenever you land a hit, they'll get a haunt token as well. So there's fun stuff like that in
Very
the
cool.
expansion.
Nice. You got a Christmas version on the works too?
How do you know this?
Well, because I'm thinking of Patchwork specifically, which comes out with a new version every year,
But
and they have
yeah,
a Valentine's one, a Christmas one, a Halloween one, an Americana one.
yeah,
I'm waiting for like I don't know if they come out with like a Labor Day one somehow. I'm
yeah.
not sure.
I do. I do have a Christmas one though. It is. It's pretty cool though. Um.
I'm
So
not
that
going to say
one.
anything else because I'm not going to spoil all your surprises.
Okay.
I'll
That one
stop
does.
guessing. I promise.
That one does have a really cool mechanic though. With snow and freezing the water inside of your Hydro Pack.
Cool.
So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. All right. Nice. Nice. Awesome. Is there anything else specifically you wanted to talk about, either about the game itself or about the company or your family or anything like that? And then we'll start to wrap things up at some point.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just I'm basically running the thing. This is just my Upsize Fun is just the I don't know marketing front that I have. Just because I want to focus on family friendly games. Um, I don't want. I played plenty of games that are super rules heavy.
Sure.
Um, I mean, we're looking like this is a move action. I mean, these are the rules, and this is
Right.
a diagram to show you. I just want it like clear.
Super simple.
Yes, clear and concise, and just real easy to pick up. So that's my like goal with all these games. Um, I I I just don't want to go like crazy deep in the rule sets.
Yeah.
Um, I'm more like intuitive, I guess, is my goal.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, everything you've talked about makes sense, especially even with the whole, the haunting thing. And you get to touch your friend adjacently and they're not frozen anymore.
Right, right,
This makes sense.
yeah.
So what
And
about
like
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like I love um, starting with the theme and building games around that.
Okay.
And so like I didn't have like a dice rolling game, skirmish game. I had like okay, water guns. Well, first of all, I wanted to do a '90s theme just because I that's just great. So I did that. I was like, okay, what goes with that? Okay, water guns. And I like skirmish games, and like that's where it all flowed. And then I just thought of the theme: water depleting from your pack. Okay, you're gonna have to have a pack of water that depletes. So how can we do that? And things just kind of rolled from there.
How much play testing did you go through, and was that something that was hard to manage and hard to like digest afterwards?
Yeah, it was weird because I asked a lot of like family and friends to play it
Sure.
who aren't real like gamers. So that was my like key demographic though, almost.
Right. Right.
Um, So if
Yeah,
it
how
worked with
quickly can you open this and get it, right?
right. So there was some explaining I had to do, and maybe a little bit with like the movement and stuff, because it's got a weird movement. Not really. It's a straight line, but you can move one diagonal move.
Mm.
But some some people had a hard time wrapping their head around it. Um, but we did a lot of play testing. I sent it out to some reviewers and stuff to see what they thought of it. They all really enjoyed it, and they all had the same, almost the same feedback. It was just real easy to play. It wasn't. I mean, there's not too much over the top,
Right.
rules heavy stuff. So mission accomplished on that.
Yeah, that was exactly what you were looking for.
Hmm.
I'm curious what kind of stuff is getting to your game table if you do have any time in your really, really busy day to actually play something. Is there
Oh yeah,
something you're feeling right now?
I have nothing right now because I am currently in my mother-in-law's basement.
Ah, yeah,
We
that will put a damper on things.
Yeah, we sold our house last month. Yeah, beginning of last month, and we actually just bought a new house, but we don't settle till the end of this month, so
Oh, okay.
everything's on pause for the moment.
All right. Well, congrats on that, though.
Oh, thank you. But I really like there's a game called V Commandos. I think it's called V Sabotage now.
Okay.
Um, it's just a World War II stealth action game. It's just really fun.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when Sam Healy was still with the Dice Tower, he talked about that game a lot. V
Yeah,
Commandos. He
that
really
is
liked that game.
that is a really, really, really fun game.
Yeah.
And it's simple, and it's got that intuitive kind of feel to it. Like everything just makes sense. Okay, well, that you can do that. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's key. And the more out there you get with the rules, like you said, that the less intuitive that is, and it's I have my buddy Eric and I do a lot of stuff on the channel together, and one of his biggest complaints is hard to follow rule books or games that you have to constantly go back, especially if there's an expansion, and then
Yeah,
you have to go like reference, oh, what is this part? Because a lot of times you put everything together in the game, right? And
yep,
now it's like, oh, I got to find out what this card, how this interacts with this base game rule, and all this other stuff. So
yeah.
keeping it simple.
I feel you. And when I want to go back to some of these games that I have, and I could have played them like 30, 40 times. If there's a gap there, I have to go back and like read everything over again. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh gosh, I gotta refresh my mind on everything.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
if the gameplay like loop is what designers call it, that gameplay loop.
Hmm.
Um, if that thing's solid and it's constant throughout your game, like with Hydra Soakers, it's the same thing. I'll read you off. Turn sequence: perform two actions, pass play to opposing player, and there's three actions you can take. I mean, if that loop is solid, and I want to say repetitive, but it is repetitive, but there's different stuff that happens.
Yeah,
But
well,
that
and that word has a negative connotation to it sometimes, right? But that doesn't necessarily need to be a negative thing. It's just
right, right. But if it's solid and constant, I'll say constant,
there you go.
then you'll go back to that game and you'll pick it up in no time.
Right. Yeah,
So
for sure. The best kind of game is one you can open up and just get it played within, minutes, like
yeah, I
two or
mean,
three
King of
minutes.
Tokyo. I
Yeah,
can again. I can just open up, you throw dice. I mean,
for sure.
easy.
All right, folks. So we're going to start to wind down here, but it has become a bit of a tradition. I can say that now because this is our third episode of Designer Debut. So now it's a thing. We always end with a bit o trivia.
Oh boy.
So you might guess the topic here. But I'm going to ask you a series of questions about some 90s television, specifically, mostly Nickelodeon cartoon stuff.
Oh,
So
but I
I,
got this then.
I think you're going to score pretty well. Just my initial guess. All right. So here we go. Let me get my questions here. What was your favorite show, first of all? Just that's not a trivia question, it's just a general
Oh,
question.
gosh. My favorite show. Honestly, I like the Rugrats. that was my jam back then.
Yeah, that has the most inspiration in the artwork for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so a couple of these a couple of these questions are going to be really really softballs for you, I think, but
Okay.
it's all in the fun. All right, so we'll start off right with what you just mentioned in Rugrats. What pretend tool did Tommy Pickles carry around with him constantly?
Oh, a screwdriver.
Screwdriver is correct. Well done. All
Used it
right,
for everything.
yeah, everything. It's a universal tool. It still is today.
Yeah.
In the Ren and Stimpy show, question number two: what superhero appeared quite often?
Oh, yeah. See, the Ren and Stimpy, that one was a little out there for me.
Yeah, that
But
one was a little bizarre. This is a. Let me rephrase the question. It's not a known superhero. It's like it was specific to the show, but he was also
right, I
a
remember there was like the
mascot of sorts.
the toast guy
That's
with
right.
the cape. Um, I don't remember his name. It was Toast Man.
I'll give you partial credit for Toast Guy in the Cape. Yeah, for sure.
Toast Man. Toast
Powdered
Man.
Toast Man. Powdered
Powdered
Toast
Toast
Man.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would just
Yeah.
come in and like start scraping stuff off of his face,
Yeah.
save
Yeah.
the day somehow. It was really, really weird.
Yeah. That one was yeah, that one got a little too weird for me.
That was a
So
very bizarre show, but had some interesting moments.
yeah.
Um, a much more tame show, however, was Rocco's Modern Life. Can you tell me the name of Rocco's dog?
Oh yeah, Spunky.
Oh, there you go. Well done.
Yeah. I like that one too. That was
Yeah.
like that those shows they were in my wheelhouse. So Rocco, Rugrats, Wild Thornberries I liked a lot too. I like the nature stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next up, we got a question about good old Doug. Doug Funny. Who was Doug's, we'll call it love interest in the show?
Mm, yeah, Patty Mayonnaise.
Patty Mayonnaise. That's right. That was man. Animation was so good back then. All these shows, it's just
I know.
so different
Yeah,
now.
yeah. They were so distinct though. Like each
Yeah.
one was from the other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so. Very much so. All right. Back on the Rugrats train here. Can you tell me the name of Angelica's doll?
Oh, Cynthia.
Oh, yeah. Rolling on. Rolling on. All right.
I
I don't
got
know about
these.
this one. I didn't know this one because I didn't really watch this show. Um, the Angry Beavers. Do you know what
Mhm.
state they reside in?
Ooh. Well, that's real good. State, state, state. Um, um, Massachusetts.
No, it's more the other side. It's Oregon, actually.
Oh, really?
Yep, yep.
Hmm. That I did not know.
All right. So we got one
You
past you. We
got me.
got one
You
past you.
got me.
Hey Arnold is another cartoon from the '90s. The grandfather on the show had a specific nickname that he referred to Arnold as. Would you happen to know that nickname?
Um, um, it wasn't like kiddo. It was something else.
No, I'll give you a
Oh,
small hint if you like.
yeah.
It
Sport.
had no, but you're on the
No.
right track. It had to do with his height.
Oh, short, short. I don't know. Short
Yeah,
guy.
you
Short,
have to.
short,
It's powdered toast man all over again. It's just short man,
short man. Okay.
short man, short
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
All right,
I can
that's
hear. I can hear the voice
yeah.
saying it.
All right, that's a little partial credit for you. Back to Doug. What's the name of the class bully, sometimes ally, but mostly bully?
Oh yeah. Roger. Roger.
Roger.
Klotz.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know his last name. So there, you got that half the point back from the other
Thank you.
question.
Thank you.
All right, couple more here. Now, for these last two, I will warn you, we are shifting over to live action, non animation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. What was the name of the Nickelodeon game show that featured the aggro crag?
Yeah, Guts
That show was awesome, man. I kind
or
of wanted to
or
go on
Global
that.
Guts. They did
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
they expanded.
That
Yeah.
was like nothing had ever been seen. That was like a kid's version of American Gladiators. That was so
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
That was so
Yeah,
cool.
that was good stuff. That I think it was Mike O'Malley, which is the host.
Yep.
He's I mean he really turned into like an awesome actor. I saw him on that Stars show Heels or Heel,
Oh,
but
okay.
he's on that, and that's like I mean he's an incredible actor.
Hmm.
Just a side note, but
I did
yeah,
not know that.
that was a good show.
There's no extra credit on this though, so
Okay,
you know.
I'm sorry.
All right, last one here. The first live action comedy show on Nickelodeon.
Well, I want to say all that, but is it something else?
I believe it's before all that.
Um,
I have another hint for you if you want it.
okay.
Before it was an actual series, it was a very short kind of like skit that came on between shows once in a while. So it was like a 2 minute thing sometimes.
As a comedy show,
Hmm. And then it eventually got made into a regular half-hour series for, I don't know,
gosh,
probably 2, 3 seasons maybe at the most.
I think you got me.
Oh, all right. All right. I'll end you with a stumper. That's The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you remember, there was like a little interlude between some
Yeah.
shows, and because I think a lot of times Nickelodeon shows had like, I mean, obviously some commercials, but there was a lot of station ID type stuff
Yeah.
back then as well, and that was, yeah, similar to like how The Simpsons started as a little bit of a mini thing, and then it got
Yeah,
picked up.
yeah. I remember like their like bumpers, I guess they called them. They would always have
Yes.
like show-based ones. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, they have like a Rugrats one or something. But yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
Awesome. Well, that was fun. Ben, I do want to thank you for hanging out over here on Board Game Dads. We do appreciate you taking the time out. And folks, if you have any questions for Ben afterwards, if you're watching this tomorrow or the next day or a year from now, put them in the comments because Ben seems like the type of person that'll check these comments often if he's anything like me. So he will respond. Um, Chris, best of luck to you. Looking forward to seeing more from Upsize Fun. And before I go, I do want to ask you one last question. What is your favorite part about being a dad?
Oh, wow. That's a great one. Um,
No, no points for this one. This is just the
it's all amazing,
yeah.
honestly. Um, I don't know. The hug. The hug is the
Yeah,
best.
I
You
agree.
can't beat it. There's no other feeling like it.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this video. And hey, if you're a publisher by any chance watching this, probably you're not, but hey, talk to Ben. And I'll put some links in the description of this video for his company and his game and things like that. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you all on the next one. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.